All right, everybody. Well, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We're both really excited to be here with all of you today. And thank you so much to ICA and the host committee for having us, organizing all of this. It's really just a pleasure to be here. So I'm Kristen Thompson, and my lovely co-presenter is Rucha Trivedi, and we're going to be speaking today about digital content and clarinet pedagogy, showcasing your studio on social media. And we have a great presentation planned for you.
So today's agenda, we'll chat a little bit about ourselves for those of you who don't know us, and just talk about like why you might use social media, just like a quick guide and starting out if you're unfamiliar with any of these platforms. We'll then do a deep dive into specific platforms that we have used, and do a little strategy overview there. Go over some common challenges, and then at the end, we do have some time for questions. So, yes, I'm Rucha Trivedi. I live in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I have a small private clarinet studio in Northern Virginia. Some things I love outside of clarinet: I'm a big reader, rock climber, and I have two very sweet dogs, Barnacle and Albus.
And I'm Kristen Thompson. I'm a clarinetist, woodwind doubler, and private teacher based in Dallas, Texas. I also have a very small private studio, and the cool thing I've done so far on clarinet is perform on an episode of Encore on Disney Plus, which is a lot of fun. Some things I really love outside of clarinet are my dog Cappy, who you might hear at some point clip clopping around, astrology, and iced coffee. Okay, so why we're all here today is speaking about social media and just getting acquainted with these different platforms, especially to use in for the purposes of growing your studio, whether that is showcasing the studio you currently have or using it as a recruiting tool to build upon the private studio that you're trying to grow. No matter what platform you're using, um, there are a few things that are just really important. So first of all, it doesn't really matter what platform you start out on. There are a lot of options, and we both really encourage you to just kind of stick what's familiar to you. So if you're an avid Facebook user, start there. If you like Instagram, start there. If you want to try out some new things, then there are plenty of other developing platforms. Regardless of where you start, though, there are three things that you want to keep in mind. You want your audience to know who you are, what you're about, what your personality is, and that you're there to build relationships. You want people to like you. So again, showcasing your personality, building those connections, and then adding an element of trust, demonstrating that you have a lot of value to share and that you have an expert level of knowledge, again, to provide to those people.
This can be a lot of fun, but it's also really time consuming. It You will make mistakes when you start. We certainly did when we were starting out with Virtual Clarinet Academy, but with some trial and error, a lot of patience on your part, you'll be able to figure out a rhythm that works for you on any platform that you might want to explore. The best way to get eyes on your channels are going to be to start with your personal network. So, doing a blast on your personal Instagram or your personal Facebook page, just saying, "Hey, I've started a studio page for my studio. Can y'all please go like it?" Those are the people that are going to be the most supportive to you starting out. And I think a really important thing is to identify your goals before you start. So, are you trying to recruit new students? Do you want to recruit for just have a online presence for prospective students? Do you want to just have educational content out there? Knowing what you want to do will inform which platforms you might want to explore a little bit more as well.
And just another thought too, before we move on to the different platforms, regardless of what age of students you're working with, make sure you have consent if you're planning to share any of their likeness or any of their recordings of playing. It's really easy to find just a kind of plug and play media release. regardless of whether they're college students or adult students. And especially if you're planning to share anything for children that are under 18, there are really specific laws that you just want to protect yourself from. So go ahead and include that in your studio handbook if you are wanting to include that as part of your platform. Okay, so let's dive into some of the different platforms. So first up is Instagram, and this I will say is my favorite platform. And the audience here is a lot of young professionals. There is a bit of an age range, but our, like for Virtual Clarinet Academy, our biggest age range is people like 24 to 35. You can share a lot of different types of content here, but we find that short form videos are the most popular. You can share pictures, you can share videos. The really popular thing right now is to share Reels, which is kind of a spinoff from TikTok, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But regardless of what you're sharing, you want to provide a lot of value and provide images or content that encourages conversation. This is just an example of one of the popular types of posts that we have on the platform, which is just sharing some different fingerings with the name of the fingering and then just for reference where it lives in the staff.
So, like Kristen mentioned, Instagram is a platform that we're both very familiar with, and we actually use a lot on our personal accounts. Facebook a little bit less so for both of us, I think. The audience here is going to be young and established professionals. If you're looking to provide educational content for middle school, high school students, maybe Facebook is not the best place to start because those kids don't tend to be on there most of the time. But an ideal post is going to be a medium form video that's, you know, about 3 to 5 minutes long and lots of link sharing. So if you find a blog post that you found a lot of value in, posting the link to that blog with like your own little personal takeaway as the text of the post, that can do really well on Facebook as well. So yeah, the ideal content here is going to be an informative, engaging video, and then sharing of other people's videos and posts that is relative to your audience. And then this is again just one of our posts from last year that did pretty well.
It's just me playing, but I'm not going to play the whole thing. But it's just this one happens to be a minute long. Oop, and now it doesn't want me to let it play.
So we have that lovely video of Kristen playing, but in the caption, I don't know if we can unfurl that caption at all, but it just has a lot of, you know, like, hey, lyrical etudes are hard. Like, this is what I find challenging about them. This is how I go about practicing them. So again, yeah, having the video of, you know, really high quality playing, but then also going through and having a caption that provides an extra bit of value there as well.
Yeah, and relating to the audience too, because as we all know, as clarinet players, the flashy stuff sounds amazing and we're all drawn to it, but gosh, if long tones aren't the hardest thing in the practice room. Okay, so next up is YouTube, which is another really popular platform.
Kristen here from
Sorry, I'll anticipate the videos wanting to speak right away as we continue through the presentation. So YouTube, of course, is a really fun platform, and gosh, there's so much different content and so many different topics you can discuss here. Really, the sky is the absolute limit. Now, again, the audience here is a pretty wide range of people, but unlike Facebook, you are going to find a lot of the younger crowd who gravitate towards YouTube. That being said, of course, there are young and established professionals. I know a lot of teachers who will pull great YouTube examples to use in the classroom as well. So there's a wide audience of eyes who could potentially see videos on this platform. So your ideal posts here are longer form videos. That's not to say that shorter videos don't do well or that segmented videos, so like shorter snippets of a different area of a certain topic can't work really well in a long form, but here you can get away with those longer videos for sure. And again, the sky's the limit when it comes to creating content here. Any topics specific to your niche, to your teaching style, something that showcases your personality. The great thing about YouTube is that you can really personalize. A lot of that work is done off of the platform versus with Facebook or with Instagram. A lot of the content that you can create, it can be done right in the app. With YouTube, a lot of people will use a third party, or you really have to use a third party to create what you want to do, and then upload it into YouTube. Now, the cool thing here, and just a couple tips if you're thinking that you've been wanting to get into YouTube or wondering like what helps you be popular here, we definitely recommend creating a beautiful thumbnail, so something that's going to stick out as people search embouchure, you know, like the catchier the better, something that the eyes are going to gravitate towards. And then as you're creating your video, I'll let this one play for you in a moment. There are, of course, there's a lot of editing that can go into it, but even mixing some basics of a title screen, some speaking, some screens that include some language for people to either pause and screenshot or to write down can be really helpful. So I'll let this play for just a moment here.
From Virtual Clarinet Academy. Today we're going to be talking about how to build a better embouchure. I have 4 C's for you to remember, plus a bonus tip.
So here you can see the screen, just leaving some basics.
The first 2 go together.
And then I go on to describe it, and it's that format throughout the entire video.
Hey, so when you try to play
just myself yelling at this TikTok.
I know.
Okay. So TikTok is my favorite platform. I can't say that I'm like super an active content creator on TikTok, but I think it has the most potential to get younger users, whereas that if that's young professionals, collegiate students, or younger if you're looking to provide content for middle school, high school, this is where the kids are for the most part. As an old person, this is what I understand, this is where the kids are. But ideal content here is going to be short form videos that are attention grabbing right away. With TikTok, if you're not familiar, it's very easy to just swipe up on your phone screen and go to the next video if the video isn't engaging within the first like 5 seconds. So that's why I started out this video being like, hey, guess what? You know, because I think that will like pull people's attention, having the clarinet right in the screen. The TikTok algorithm is really smart, and you will get clarinet players' eyes on your video if you are doing hashtag clarinet in your caption in the video. TikTok is big with viral trends. So yes, there's the dancing trends and stuff, which is not my thing, and I don't think it's Kristen's thing either. But there are other types of trends that happen where you can insert like a clarinet or music twist on it. So like there was one going on where someone would interject with like a movie quote or something like that. A lot of people are doing like, you know, quotes from like Pride and Prejudice or like Harry Potter. And I was like, well, maybe we can do one with, instead of a movie quote, have like Mozart concerto playing, just interrupting, like kind of disrupting what you think the TikTok is going to go. It disrupts and goes a completely different direction. So just little things like that I think you can be very creative with. And educational content. I would keep it very quick and basic. Maybe not like the 4 C's of clarinet embouchure, but kind of just doing a very basic, like, hey, when you're playing clarinet, make sure that your bottom lip is, curled up under, and then you're, just like very, very easy to digest, like one bit of information at a time. And then again, just like a minute long at most.
And let's show you some of Rucha's beautiful video here. And you'll see too, like it's really engaging because she's cut different clips and changes the text too. Like those things can also be really attention grabbing.
Hey, so when you try to play up high in the altissimo register, do you struggle with this sound? Instead of getting the sound that you actually want, which is... Here are a couple things you can try and eliminate that buzz and actually get the note that you want. The first...
So yeah, as you can see, really informative bite-sized pieces here. Okay, So next up is LinkedIn. So in terms of sharing content to build studio, we have found that LinkedIn tends to be more for professional networking. So this might not be the way for you to go. Now, if that with that being said, you can certainly have a LinkedIn. It's a great way to network with perhaps other clarinet teachers or other music industry people if you're wanting to build connections in that way. And there are some really great advantages to using this platform. So again, the audience, mainly professionals. The ideal post here is going to be blogs or sharing professional accomplishments, like starting a new job or any kind of professional wins. That audience does really gravitate towards those kind of announcements. Ideal content is providing insight into a certain topic within your expertise. And here, this is just a screenshot of a blog post that we shared through Virtual Clarinet Academy. The Goldilocks method, finding the right reed strength, or finding the reed strength that's just right for you. Sorry, it's cut off on my side of the screen. Yeah, and this article is up on there. So if you're like, oh, that's interesting, I want to know more about it, it's there. You can just kind of see it's a blog post, just sharing about some different ways to find the right reed strength for you or for a student.
Twitter. Twitter's a place where I'm more of a lurker than an active user, but the audience here is widely varied. You'll have people that are in academia, people that are playing, teachers, and students as well are on Twitter. Um, so this is a place where your pertinent thoughts, so like that joke that was going around December 2020, like if you've done XYZ, don't worry about what's in the vaccine. So this was just our twist on it, or like we talked about in TikTok, like finding that clarinet spin. And then, the give me a horror story from your specialty in 5 words or less, I'll use a new read. Which we can all relate to when students says that, like, no, don't do that. But another thing to do there is share links to articles, photos can do well on Twitter as well. But this is more of just kind of like getting like kind of almost like a networking place, where you can make connections with other people that are on classical music Twitter or clarinet Twitter.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about some common challenges, and just a reminder too, we'll be answering questions at the end, so feel free to type them in the chat and we will answer them as soon as we're through with these next few slides. So the first common challenge, especially when you're starting out, is do I have to have a presence on every single one of these platforms? And the answer, y'all, is an emphatic no. You absolutely do not have to do that. Like I shared at the beginning, it's totally fine for you to start out on one platform, and then if you feel the need to build and grow into another presence, absolutely you can do that. But if you're using this in addition to teaching full-time or teaching on the side and having another job, like it is really time consuming to create content and to build the relationships that you're wanting to foster in order to grow your studio. So start small. You can always build up from there. You're going to burn out really fast if you try to take on too much too soon. The pertinent thing here, really, if you're just like, I could go anywhere, I'm starting from scratch, think about who you're trying to attract, who's your audience, and then kind of consider in conjunction with that, which platform might be the best fit for connecting with some of those students.
Another common challenge that you may run into at the start is, why isn't my audience growing? And this can certainly be frustrating because organic growth, that is to say, growth that you're not paying for likes or paying for followers, which we do not recommend that you do. That's not going to get you the eyes that you want on your stuff. It just takes time to build up that presence that you might want. The people that you see that have thousands of followers, they've been doing this for a while, and they've used that kind of trial and error method that we talked about at the beginning of the session, to figure out what works for them and their audience. A big kind of thing, especially on Instagram, is and TikTok as well, are you spending time interacting with other people's posts? So are you going and clicking that clarinet hashtag and seeing, oh, you know, I'm seeing the same person over and over again. Maybe let me leave a comment saying, you sound great, or, you know, something along those lines, and trying to establish and foster some relationships there so that you can build your own community on your platform as well. And then on your own posts, pay attention to which posts are hits. For us, our biggest posts for Virtual Clarinet Academy are definitely our fingering posts. Those always get, I mean, like thousands of shares sometimes. And it's something that we will even do a second time where we'll have, okay, here's your Super Altissimo C again. And it'll be the third time we've posted the same thing. And it still gets a bunch of shares because the audience keeps growing and changing and the post keeps getting in front of new eyes. So we quite literally recreated a version of that post, but there are ways to do this where it's like, oh, it people really like when Kristen plays a very fast chromatic scale. Well, let's have her do something else that's similar to that and get more people with their eyes on our posts. So just kind of doing a little bit of deep diving into your own content and finding out, hey, what's working with my audience and what's not working.
Okay, and last challenge to discuss for today, how can some posts just seem to flop? And the real talk here is part of the trial and error is the error. There are going to be posts that you create that you put time and energy into that you feel enormously like too proud of the work you put into it, and people just won't respond to it the way that you're anticipating. And that is okay. It truly is. With any of these social media platforms on any given day, there are things that are beyond your control. Whenever the platforms roll out updates, things are weird that can interfere with how many eyes are getting onto your posts. It could just be that it's over a holiday weekend, you know, where people are not as active on the platforms. All of that plays into how stuff is going to perform. So I really would encourage any of you as you're trying to build your presence here to detach your value and what you're creating from how many likes or how many comments you get on your post, because really it's about the quality and the value that you're putting out there. And if you're consistently doing that, then you have a lot to be proud of and things are going to work out for you. Keep in mind, like, what's the goal for your post and how are you measuring success? Like, if the goal is to teach someone how to have a better embouchure, maybe, you know, that's not the most flashy video out there, but, you know, if you notice, like, did people save that video a lot? Or were there a lot of reshares of that video? Because those are also excellent indicators that that's valuable content that people want to see, and that should encourage you to keep creating that type of content. Because it's something that speaks to your audience, which at the end of the day, it's about what is going to bring in that audience and grow that community that you're trying to build, you know, for either for your studio, for recruiting, just to establish yourself as an educator. It's about those people. Yeah, like, and I'll just reiterate, like I said, it's a successful post might not mean that it has hundreds of likes on it. You know, if you have a very small audience of 100 people and you have 10 people that liked your post, that's still 10%, which honestly is a really good indicator of like a good engagement rate. So try not to be discouraged by the number, but rather the quality and the kind of interactions that you're getting and receiving. Okay, so that is the end of the presentation we have for y'all today. Again, we would love to address any questions that you have. If you have to jet, no problem. Here are some emails and some social medias to be in touch with us if you want to reach out in the future. Let's see if I can open the chat here. Ooh, okay. Some really great questions here. Okay, recommendations about maintaining multiple pages. Oh my gosh, Jessica, that is something that that is really challenging for sure. In terms of maintaining multiple pages, I think the best thing you can do is be a little bit, be planning ahead a little bit and maybe creating some content ahead of time, or just having like a kind of a week long or a month long or a bi-week long vision of what you want to be putting out there. honestly, y'all, like creating content takes way more time than any of us want to admit. It really does. It's really time consuming, and especially as you're working towards creating great content, it takes a lot of time. So I think the more organized you can be, and honestly, the more realistic you can be too. It's a lot to say I'm going to post 5 posts a week on multiple pages. That ends up being hours that you may or may not have to create content. So be realistic and plan ahead. And full disclosure, that's advice I need to take for myself too. It's a lot.
And
Um,
if I can interject here with the maintain like the multiple pages thing, just reuse your content a little bit. So like just not even reusing the same post, but like we talked about with ideas that do well, just repurposing that idea in like a slightly evolved form can take a lot of time away from like or just save you a lot of time in your content creation.
yep, 100%. People won't notice. We've done it a lot, and no one has ever said, "Weird, I saw this post back in December." Like, no one's gonna know. Any tips involving websites? Yes. That's like a whole other presentation. I'm not exactly sure what you're specifically looking for here. If you're, I would say if your main goal is to like direct people from your social media to your website, make it really easy for them, and also let people know that that's where they need to go. So you can definitely have that in your profile, like in your bio, in your profile, and any kinds of like longer form posts, be sure to be redirecting people there. Um, let's see. How
How
long did
long
it
did it
take?
take? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, how long did it take you for you to notice a snowball of engagement on Instagram? Um, we started noticing a snowball of engagement maybe around 6 or 7 months into starting our page and becoming more consistently posting on there. It did take us some time, and again, a lot of trial and error there. How did you learn to edit your YouTube videos? Self-taught. Like I just I have an iMac, so I just went on iMovie and I just did mine there. Kristen uses another free program, and there are YouTube videos out there on how to edit your YouTube videos, so definitely take you use of that. All of our stuff on the Virtual Clarinet Academy YouTube has been made completely with free editing software, unless you've upgraded. Kristen, I don't know if you have.
No, I
No,
haven't.
so both of us use free software. Okay, I think we
Let's
answered the what was the
see.
moment you noticed it. Hi Jenna, I see your
Hey,
question.
Jenna. Let's see. Software or equipment we use to create content. Yes, I love Canva. For those of y'all who don't know, Canva is like a graphic creator platform. There's a free version that is lovely. Any specific video software, iPhone. I personally don't like. I just use my phone. I do have an app called Snapseed that's through Google that is great for some like just tweaking different editing of video, or excuse me, not videos, photos. Um, Something for first time creators. Yeah, I like I said, Canva is wonderful, Snapseed is wonderful. Honestly, you can do a lot with your phone in terms of like editing and filtering and that kind of thing. Um, if you're for first time creators, you can absolutely too like plan and schedule ahead your content. If you're using mostly Instagram or Facebook, Facebook Creator Studio is absolutely free. You just have to have a page, a Facebook page to connect to your Instagram, and that will allow you to schedule ahead. There's some other ones too if you're using different platforms, and a quick Google search will show you plenty of different things there too.
Do you
Let's
find
see.
that certain platforms drive more traffic as far as actively recruiting students? Can you talk about this versus creating a community slash resources? Um, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to create some sort of community and or resources in order to recruit students, because otherwise, especially if you're trying to recruit online in this kind of new environment where virtual lessons are becoming more of the norm in many cases, I think you have to provide some sort of content or create some sort of community. And when I say create a community, I just mean engage with the people that are liking your stuff on Facebook or Instagram. That's what it means to create a community. Is just when someone says, "Wow, you sound great," reply and say, "Thank you so much." You know that, and that's it. That's you creating community. Um, I, I think if I mean personally, I do not like to be sold to. So if I am going into a store and the person is like, "Hi, welcome to my store. What do you need? What do you need? What do you need?" I'm like, "All right, I'm out of here. I don't want to be here anymore." I think that that's kind of how people can even see your page. So if you're on Facebook and you're saying like, I have students. I have room for students in my studio. I have room for students in my studio. People are going to be like, okay, and maybe the people that know you well will forward your information on to their contacts. But people that don't know you, and if you're trying to reach out in pockets of the clarinet world that maybe you're not super familiar with, and people don't know you very well, they don't know that they can trust you, right? Like that's especially the case for us. People didn't know if they could trust us with Virtual Clarinet Academy. We had to show that we knew what we were talking about and that we're good teachers and we're friendly people. And then that's how we got people to want to study with us. Would you anything add to that, Kristen?
I mean, those are all really beautiful and pertinent points here, and just would I would just reiterate that like creating community more is like selling yourself, and creating a space for others to get to know you. Again, just like trying to recruit students in this digital age, and reaching other pockets where that might not be like your direct community is going to take, a little bit of putting yourself out there, and it might not be your goal to have a humongous following on any social media platforms, and that's truly fine. Think of it really as marketing yourself and your skills and what you have to offer, and bringing in that like and that trust factor, especially, can be really helpful. And of course, I would know we're kind of at the end of our time here. If y'all have other questions, please, 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 please feel free to email us or reach out on social media. We'd be happy to address any other points that you have.
Yeah, thank you all so much for coming today.
All right, thank you so much to our panelists. We are starting a session right now on YouTube at noon with Eddie Venestiza. So you can find the link on the website or in the guidebook, and we thank you so much. If you missed the first part of this session, you'll be able to catch it up on YouTube shortly after I have the chance to edit it with Filmora. So have a great day, and please email the panelists with any questions that you might have. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.